Well, hello everyone. It has been far too long since the last time I did one of these. These solo episodes are fun because they're kind of a time for us to have like almost like a, I don't know, like a solo podcast. But normally we talk about a bunch of different things, or well, one specific topic, but sort of random things. But I recently had this idea that I wanted to sort of do them a little bit more often, and about things that I care about a little bit more. So I think we're gonna call this segment like Nerd Jam or something like that, because it's kind of just gonna be like all the fun, like nerdy little things that I'm into or Dalton's into. But anyway, welcome back to Just After Midnight. Today, I'm going to be tier ranking all of the seasons of American Horror Story. And really the reason that this is happening is because Halloween was lame this year. I don't know what it was like for anyone else out there, but we did not really get to do a ton. And when I say didn't get to do a ton, I mean like not just us, like kind of everyone around here. It seems like Halloween just sort of fell flat on its face this year. No one really did much of anything. So the reason that I want to tier rank American Horror Story is because it's sort of the way that I've been artificially getting my spooky season in. Not only that, but it's something me and my wife have watched our entire relationship, even when we were dating. But I've been like a long time American Horror Story fan, so I have some stuff pulled up to make sure I'm not speaking wrongly about any of this. But 2011 was the first season, Murder House, and pretty much ever since then, I remember seeing ads all the time on normal, like DirecTV television way back, I guess in 2010 would kind of have been when those ads had first started. But yeah, I mean, I've been watching kind of ever since. I've seen every season up till this point. And I think my opinions on American Horror Story might be a little different than everyone else's, or maybe not everyone else's, but what mainstream American Horror Story fans normally go for. So let me sip my coffee once more, and then we'll start ranking these in order of letters on a graph, since that's what the internet seems to be mildly obsessed with. So yeah, we'll just start at the beginning. So season 1, Murder House. This one is so good, so good. I will say, not the biggest Adam Levine fan. Luckily he gets killed off pretty quickly. Yeah, no. Murder House is great. Yeah, it's about a house, and kind of all the hauntings and crazy crap that goes on in there. Oh, there we go. My cat's attacking her cat tower. But yeah, Murder House is great. Obviously, in order for a series to carry on to now 12 seasons, you kind of have to start, off strong. So what am I gonna rank this? This is hard because you can't just jump straight to S tier just because it's like the OG, right? But like you could make arguments for like B or A slot. It's definitely not C. I have a feeling a majority of the list of seasons is gonna fall into the C category. Sorry, I'm sipping. It's super hot. The C category, I think, is going to be reserved for sort of like the mediocrity tier, and there's unfortunately quite a few that are going to be put in the mediocrity tier, I have a feeling. So Murder House, man, Murder House is one of those that I just like, I don't know, it's hard because you never get past it, especially because seasons keep calling back to it. Well, first, actually, my hot take, I hate horror stories, American Horror Stories, like the IES TV show. So that is gonna just be immediately F tier. Well, actually, E seems to be the lowest on our tier ranking. But American Horror Stories, E tier. Terrible. I hate it. And I know that the writers have said that this is kind of their preferred platform for how American Horror Story should run. It's not. Go back to doing things the way you did early on, because it's far better. Murder House. Murder House, I'm going to give... Ooh, I'm going to do an A. I'm going to put it at A. And here's why. Because Murder House is one of the more depthy and more redeeming plot lines. It's very circular and has a lot of like built-in really good quality narrative structure. On top of that, from what I'm looking at here, it seems to be one of the higher episode counts, which I know some people kind of like or don't like. I personally prefer more episodes with these, mostly just because they're all going to be an hour long anyway. So you know, you really might as well go for it. You're just making a bunch of like tiny movies, so yeah, see the story to its conclusion, or at least hopefully. Next is Asylum. Oh my god, I love this season. Asylum, for a long time, and I don't know that it's gotten overtaken yet. Asylum, probably my favorite. Super intricate plot. My biggest complaint with it is not all the questions get answered. Like the alien stuff that really never gets solved one way or another, like whether that was real. There are little red herrings that don't necessarily get satisfied. I think that's kind of the worst thing that happens for that season. But you know, as seasons of American Horror Story go, I don't think you get much better than Asylum. So Asylum is gonna go right to S tier. It just has some of the more interesting characters. The Doctor, for instance, Sister Mary Eunice, like all of those characters, and they are characters, mixed with the creepy Asylum. And you get a fulfilling sense of justice from that season. So S tier for Asylum, definitely. Alright, Coven. This was my least favorite season for a long time. Pretty much up until we got to season 8, which, spoiler if y'all know which season that is. Coven was my least favorite. Now, it's not necessarily because of anything in particular. I just thought that it was a little pithy. It was kind of pedantic in my opinion. There wasn't enough substantially there for me to be super intrigued. The cool thing though is that Coven is another one of those seasons that kind of ties into all the other seasons and gets kind of relayed back to. So because of that, Coven is risen. I don't hate it. It's not bad in hindsight, having watched it again. It's cool. It's not one of my favorite seasons still, though. So Coven, I don't know if we should make our first call for the mediocrity tier in C, or if we should just go right to D, because that's kind of what I'm feeling. Don't have anything in B yet. Murder House at A, Asylum at S, American Horror Stories at E. I mean, you know, let's just throw it in C for right now, and we can move it later if we desire. So yeah, we'll put Coven at C. Not the best, not the worst. It kind of sums up the mediocrity tier because I'm describing it as being mediocre, which it is. Freak Show. This has become one of my absolute favorite seasons. Some of the best characters in the entirety of American Horror Story. Some of the best writing, some of the most heart-wrenching moments. But that's kind of the coolest part to me about American Horror Story, is it's not just horror. It's so much more than that. It's drama. too. But not drama in the sense of like, oh, dramatic, like, we're gonna spill the tea. It's got some of that, but it's more like I wouldn't call it a murder mystery, but it's more mysterious. It's got thriller elements. It's got elements of human drama, like real interaction. It's kind of the cool part about American Horror Story, even to elaborate more, is that it's not like a horror movie where it's just, oh, I tripped on a twig while I'm being chased by a murderer and I can't get up and now I'm dead. It's not stupid stuff. It's a very realistic approach, I think, for the most part, to how you would maybe handle these situations if you were in them. Anyway, Freak Show, super cool. One of the creepiest, but also one of the most interesting from a humanity perspective, I think. Sort of wholesome in a weird way. But yeah, no, I really like Freak Show. I especially loved, I'm gonna get his name wrong, but the young rich guy that makes friends with the killer clown. His character is fantastically demented, and super terrible as a person, but kind of interesting, in a really good way, in my opinion. He just played it really well. So okay, let's see, Freak Show, we're gonna make that a B. You know what? Because we don't have anything in B yet, and Freak Show isn't Asylum level. Kind of is though. No, we'll keep it a B because I think that B is the right. I think it's the right one for this. All right, yeah, we'll settle with that. Freak Show is at B. We're gonna move on to Hotel. This I love Hotel. It's sexy. It's fun. It's the neatest setting out of any of these seasons, in my opinion. I love all the actors. Matt Bomer, Lady Gaga did fantastic. But then again, I pretty much everyone else that was brought back or brought in to do a character. I mean, every single character in that season is fantastic. The story also is one of my favorites, and it gets shit on a lot, and I don't really understand why, because to me, Hotel is one of the more round stories in the way that it has a beginning, middle, and end. And even the end, maybe not being necessarily the most satisfying, is a generally pretty good conclusion by American Horror Story standard, because they're not great with that normally. There's been a lot of not very good endings in the show, but this one was pretty good. I liked it. So, Hotel, where shall I put you? I've been telling everyone for years now that this is my favorite season, so I feel like I should put it in S tier. I know that everyone hates it so much, which is stupid to me, because I don't think that it deserves the hate. But you know what? I'm gonna put it in A. Because I think that it's my favorite next to Murder House. I think Murder House. You know what? Murder House, Asylum, and Hotel are my A tier picks. So I don't care. We're gonna reorganize it a little bit. A tier is Murder House, Asylum, and Hotel. Freak Show, we're gonna keep it a B, because I think that's good. But yeah, love Hotel. Honestly, I think it's a really good place to start too, because it's like messed up in places, but it's really watchable, and it's a really it's just a fun season. There's just so many fun elements to it. There's a lot of neat things that go on. A lot of very cool twists and turns. Okay, moving on to Roanoke. This one's interesting. interesting to me, mostly because I grew up nearish to Roanoke. I am going to say Roanoke's hard because I hate the first half of the season. I love the second half. The first half is done entirely in sort of like this flashback, faux documentary sort of thing, and it was meant to be cheesy and stupid. And I get that it sells if you're syndicating it and watching it weekly. That you have this big reveal. Oh, that was a retelling of what really happened, and the rest of the season is sort of like revisiting the property with, you know, the real people and the actors and all that stuff. Cool. It's really cool. To have to sit through the first half when you already know that, though, on a rewatch, it just feels like poorly written and shoddy episodes. Unfortunately, that's what it feels like, because you're watching a dumbed down version of the real events via the lens of a fictional show that's rehashing fictional events that are supposed to be real. So it's frustrating because I really like it as a whole, and I like the ideal of 2016. This is coming out fresh every week, and you think, oh, this is what the new season is. Okay, we'll see if it gets better, and then it like twists 180 halfway through. It's wonderful. It just has the lowest rewatch for me, I think, though. So Roanoke, I'm gonna put it at C. It's going at C. It's gonna hang out there with Coven because it's just kind of in the middle for me. My wife likes Roanoke a lot more, and she likes to rewatch it more. I think that she kind of like can suspend disbelief a little bit more every time. Funny side story: we were watching a movie the other night. I think it was Twilight, and I did this thing that I do all the time, which is I just go green screen, or like I call out if it's like a bad green screen, or like a pretty obvious one, obvious to me anyway. And she just turned to me and she's like, "Hey, I don't notice until you say something. It's ruining all my favorite movies, so stop." And I didn't even think about it, it's just like the film school thing that I just like, terrible green screen, bad. And that was all that I could latch onto. But yeah, anyway. Roanoke is kind of the bad green screen. The first half of Roanoke is kind of like the bad green screen of the AHS franchise. Alright, next one. This is my favorite season to watch with my wife. We love this season. Cult is fantastic. I thought I was done giving A tiers. You know what? I'm gonna do it. This is the only S tier. And Cult is the only S tier because it blended real world things that people found intimidating and or scary, cult, conspiracy, relatability, and a protagonist / antagonist that was charismatic and interesting. I can't think of another season that hits as many like sort of touchstone focal points as this one does for me. Cult is interesting through and through. It has a really well written, well woven narrative structure. The acting is phenomenal. It basically broke Evan Peters, which I can totally understand because he has to do vile things in that season. But what's interesting is it's not just for the sake of being vile. It's all means to an end, and while it has moments of sort of like a classic slasher film, it has so much more depth and intricacy, and the way that it's unwoven is done very skillfully. So yeah, I think Cult has to be the only S tier. And I say that because I'm looking at the rest of them. I don't think any of the other ones are getting an S tier. I don't even know if there's another one that'll get an A tier at this point in the list, because they kind of progressively have gotten worse until, well, we'll talk about that when we get there. So yeah, Cult S tier, beautiful, beautiful. Really, I don't know if I could call it my favorite season, just from like a nostalgic standpoint, but as far as like if I was to rate these on an academic level, which is kind of what I'm thinking about this, like, S tier. Next is, I think, every fan's least favorite season, Apocalypse. It's horrible. It's like if AHS had a podcast. That's kind of what this season's like. It's not scary. It's not interesting. It's not intriguing. About the coolest thing that they do is reference Coven, which we already talked about is not my favorite season. Not even close. And, you know, as much as I liked the whole, like, Damien, I think it was Damien, character, and the whole sort of apocalyptic end of the world scenario. This is the thing. Every time I watch this season, I go, wow, this could have been so cool, and it so isn't. I don't know what to do with that. I don't like rewatching it. Yeah, Damien's like the only cool character. Everyone else is just annoying, sitting in a bunker. Yeah, I don't know. It was a strange choice to do that one at all, I feel like. Stupid. I didn't like it. It's very bad. Very bad. E. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, dude. Oh, it sucks, but it's so true. A mainline season. Actually, there's gonna be a couple. Apocalypse. Sorry, you're going E. I don't like you. You didn't do anything good. You were. I guess people would probably tell me to put it C, but I don't even think it was mediocre. I think it was just bad. I think it was all around bad. 1984. So I've seen a lot of backlash about this one. I've seen that people don't like this. I don't get it though. I really enjoyed this season. I think that 1984 was fun. It's super campy. It had some interesting moments. It's definitely one of the more mindless seasons overall, I would say. But you know, at the same time, I don't necessarily care super much that it was mindless, because it was fun. The characters were cool. The setting was really interesting, and nostalgic. The music was great. It's funny, all the Billy Idol jokes. I never really understood how famous he was, just because sort of a limited amount of singles. I know he's been touring forever, but I just kind of thought of that as being like an 80s band thing. But yeah, I mean, they brought him back and made Billy Idol kind of cool again, which is neat. Yeah, no, 1984 was good. I wouldn't say it was great. You know, I enjoy 1984. I understand the criticism, so we're gonna make that a C tier. 1984 can be mediocre. It's fine. It's fine. There's really no good reason for it not to be. So, all right, double feature. This one's interesting. This one's a little bit difficult. I like double feature. I do. I like it a lot, actually. There are moments I don't like, which is unfortunate. So basically, anything in the modern day for the Alien portion. Let me explain real quick. Double feature is broken up into two parts, basically. The first half of the season has nothing to do with the other half of the season. I think they were just kind of like testing out what the multiple storylines in the context of VHS could be, because it was right around the time that Stories came out. It was novel. I did not hate it in that, like, the concept was good. Really liked the season though. I think it's a strong season. It felt like the return of kind of more classic AHS. It felt more like an asylum or a freak show or a murder house, but polished. It came out in 2021, so it felt far more modern than those other seasons. However, like I said, I had some problems with it. So the first half of the season is about a writer who kind of discovers like a miracle drug via some famous writers. They all go, I think they all go stay in like Cape Cod or something like that. But it's during the winter and no one's there. So it's just a bunch of writers who like to get a bunch of work done and stay in rich white people place. But it turns out that they all take these like get me famous like limitless pills that also turn you into a vampire. So the whole idea is you kind of like can do, if you're talented. So here's the trick. If you have natural talent for whatever your skill is, this drug makes it so you can't help but be basically perfect at whatever that skill or talent is. If you don't have any talent, you turn into a mindless zombie. So you have zombies and vampires. Like that's basically what the lore, I guess you'd say, is for this half of this season. And the vampires basically will give out a bunch of these pills. They don't really care about safeguarding them because they have a good connect. The person who manufactures the drug is in Cape Cod as well. So they just take these pills and then they give them to a bunch of people, and a bunch of people end up not being talented. Imagine that. So Cape Cod kind of gets overrun by these zombies, and a bunch of sad stuff happens because of that. That part of the season's great, except for I kind of hate the ending of it. It's kind of a horrible ending. It's very rushed too. Actually, all the people that you don't like throughout all of the first half of this season are the only people that live at the end of it. The drug dealer, this Hollywood agent, and this ruthless, bratty kid of the main character. The only people that live, and then the rest of it literally ends with it like just a zombie apocalypse and everything just blowing up. Like it's I don't know. The ending was stupid. It was terrible. The second half of the season, I love all the flashback stuff. I love all the black and white stuff. I did not love the modern segments very much. I don't know. For as much as I want to like it from like a visual side, just because it's really pretty, and as much as I like the first half of the season, I think it's kind of like 60-40 on bad outweighing the good. So I'm gonna put it a D tier because I really like it. I really do, and I've rewatched it a few times, which is saying something. It's just now that I'm thinking about it and I'm actually sort of trying to analyze it, it's just not as good as I wanted it to be. I think when I was watching it when it came out, and even when I rewatched it, I kind of had this like little thing in the back of my head of like, oh, I love these scenes, or I love this particular performance so much that I want this to be better than it actually is. So I think that's unfortunately where Double Feature's gonna sit. I think it's got to be a D tier. NYC. Now, oh god, this one's so difficult. Let me start out by giving it some praises, because this is going to be the second E tier. Spoiler. NYC sucks as an AHS season. It's good for... It would have been a great, like, miniseries. It would have been a great HBO miniseries or something like that. Literally, if it just had not been attached to American Horror Story, it would have been infinitely better. So let me start by giving it some praises. Acting was phenomenal. Fantastic performances. Super interesting characters. Tense. Beautifully shot. Really interesting locations. They did the whole going back in time thing. They made it look good, you know, like it's a period piece, and it looks good. That's about it, though. That's all the good that I can give it, because it's not scary. There is... They basically are, like, trying to give you a carrot the whole time, but they're just teasing you with it. It's like you're dangling a steak in front of a lion. You just keep pulling it back, and then the lion finally gets the steak, and it's just a piece of cardboard that's been painted to look like a steak. That's what this season is. They keep teasing at the idea that there's going to be some actual, like, real big bad at the end of it, and there's just not. There just isn't. It's a metaphor. The whole entire this season, NYC is a metaphor for AIDS and the AIDS crisis in the 80s, when it was like, it's late 70s, early 80s. Don't remember exactly when this was said. But yeah, I mean, it was... It sucks because it starts with a real murderer, and you think that that's going to be the mystery. But they just kind of nerf and delete his character halfway through it. They make him get caught quickly and sort of superficially. And then the rest of it is this like hiding from the boogeyman, like all of it, because it's a whole gay culture. That's really what it's about. This specific gay scene in New York. And it falls apart so quickly because the boogeyman ends up just being AIDS, which terrifying, obviously, and horrible, especially for the people at the time. But the way they paint it in this season is too deep in the allegory, to the point where it gets muddled. You can't tell if it's analogy or if it's what they actually want you to think is happening, to the point where at the end, credits rolled, and I legitimately sat there and was like, that was it? There's no other episode? In fact, because I was watching it as it was coming out on Hulu, I waited. I mean, I watched it. I watched the last episode, but then I waited for the next week, and I was like, they can't leave it like this. There's got to be another episode. Nothing. Just nothing. It ends like that. It's terrible. Which sucks because I my wife would vouch for me on this. The whole time I was like, this is going to be one of my favorite seasons. This is so visually, it's so good. Acting so good. Writing is pretty good, like we're moving, we're making plot development. Things are happening. And they dropped the ball so hard. They gave you nothing satisfying or conclusive in any way, shape, or form. It ends like a vapor, like a wisp. There's just nothing interesting about it. So yeah, NYC's going to E tier. Sorry, you had something good and you fumbled it. That's really unfortunately what happened there. Now for the one that is currently on the air and the one that I'm currently watching and keeping up with week to week is Delicate, and this one's gonna be hard to rank right now, and I think that this will probably change at some point. Maybe on the podcast I'll give like an update on where I think it fits after it's done, like after all the episodes have come out. But I like it. Okay. It's Rosemary's Baby. That's effectively what the season's about, from what I can tell so far. I'm a huge fan of Rosemary's Baby. I don't like Roman Polanski as a person. I don't think anyone does, but it's a fantastic film. It's so obvious that this is where all the inspiration for Delicate has come from. Like blatantly so, but it's done very stylistically. My major complaint, my chief complaint with it at the moment is I think that there are 6 episodes out, 5 or 6, and it's pretty much gone nowhere. Episode 1 is the same format as every episode after it has been, just more crazy stuff. I don't even necessarily think it's more crazy. It's just sort of lateral moves of crazy with more characters coming in. So there's not really been anything super satisfying or explanatory that's happened so far. Now, like I said, we're probably only about halfway through. We don't know how many episodes are going to come out. The majority of these seasons, because I can see that right at the moment, range between 13 episodes and 9 episodes. It's kind of like bottom to top. 1984 has the least amount, and Asylum, Coven, Freak Show all have 13 episodes. So a medium range is like 11. That's what Colt has. So if we're at 5 or 6, I mean, we have easily another 5 or 6 or 7 episodes that are still going to come out for this season. So we don't know. Hopefully it won't be like NYC. Hopefully it'll be more conclusive and have more of an actual ending and some substance. But I'm liking what I'm seeing so far, and I like the source material. I like what it's based off of. I think it's a very interesting concept. And not just an interesting concept, but an interesting stylistic reworking of that concept, of the whole like devil baby wife who's carrying child, being kept in the dark about everything, secret society kind of running something behind that helps you get famous. And of course they casted Kim Kardashian for that, which I think is a really interesting choice and very poignant. But yeah, let's see, where should we put this for right now? For right now, it feels like a cop-out to give it a C, because I have hope for it. I don't want it to stay at the mediocre level. I'd rather it either go down or up. I'd rather go up, obviously, because I'm a fan of the show. I'd like for it to be at least a B tier. And I think it could be. I think I like enough of it so far now that if they were able to sort of round out the story and give us some details that really related back to the red herrings that they've set up and the plot devices they've set up, then I think, yeah, I mean, it could be great. Unfortunately, every episode has either further convoluted things or not given explanation to what they set up previously, which unfortunately seems to be a new American Horror Story trope, where they just set stuff up that they don't ever complete. So we're going to give it C for right now. It seems like the most appropriate place to put it since it's still coming out. But beyond that, I hope that it'll become a B. I really do, because I have hope for it. I see promise in it. Like I said, the narrative is seemingly really good so far. It's just, unfortunately, it's not doing much. It's kind of just this woman who everyone is telling her she's crazy, but she couldn't get pregnant, and then she became pregnant, but she's also like up for an Oscar, and no one understands why this little indie movie is all of a sudden like crazy cool, and everyone's like Oscar buzz and blah blah blah. But then she's hallucinating a bunch of stuff, and she keeps getting like harassed or followed or stalked. But this is the problem though, is that none of it goes anywhere. It's just like a big goofy like chase. It's like it's playing Duck Duck Goose with like a bunch of different people being the goose and only one duck. That's kind of what's happening right now. So I don't know. Hopefully it doesn't stay like that. I think it'll get better. Anyway, that's been my tier ranking for this. I'm gonna play us out. American Horror Story. It's really good. If you haven't watched any HS, then you should. Goodbye.
After
midnight.